Hey guys, it's Blizzardstorm, but you can call me Josh, and today I thought I'd do a little video talking about the Destiny beta, what I thought of it, and what I'm most looking forward to in the full game come September. So I guess first of all you should start with the character creation. It's not too in-depth compared to other games like Skyrim. You can change the contour on the face and stuff like that, or like Mass Effect when you got that level of detail on exactly what you want your characters to look like. But for a game like this, it doesn't need to be that. I mean, 90% of the time you're in a first person view anyway, and when you're in first person you've got a helmet on, so it doesn't matter anyway. And so for the small amount of time maybe when you're in the tower that you're going to be, in third person to see your character, it isn't worth having an overly the top, customization system for your character, because it just isn't needed. But it's satisfactory. You've got basic, skin colour, got your hair colour, hairstyles. There are some, different features you can change for, faces, and there's some tattoos which are quite nice. And all of these, I imagine, will be expanded a lot more in the final game. There'll be so much more to unlock, so many more tattoos and hairstyles and stuff, and maybe DLC. I don't know. Hopefully they don't go down that route, but they probably will do. And so once you've made your character, obviously you've got the three main races. You've got the human, obviously, which is what I played as, just your standard real human type character. And then you've got the exos, which are like a sort of robot species, which looking up about, it's quite interesting. Basically, humans made them for a war they were fighting. They needed basically some robots to fight for them, so they made them, and they become self-aware and are now their own race, which is quite an interesting story. And they're their own race and they're nice, rather than an AI becoming all rogue and killing humanity. They actually become self-aware and they get along with humans, which is quite nice. And then finally you got the Awoken, which is that sort of light bluish skin character. Don't know much about them. It says on the wiki they were born into the collapse. Not sure what that is, but I'm sure there's going to be more about them. So they're quite a nice sort of character to go with if you want to try and make a sort of different look for a character rather than just a standard human. Because to be honest, the Exo doesn't look that great, and he just looks like a human in armour, really. So then, once you've got through your three races, you've got your classes. You have the Hunter, which is basically kind of like the sort of roguey type character who has a knife and has like a cloak, and their ability is basically a golden gun, which is quite good. They can just spawn out a gun. It's called Gunslinger. They spawn this golden gun, and it's really powerful, and they can use different grenade types and stuff like that, and they have a double jump, which is quite nice. Then you've got the Titan, which is basically sort of like the sort of standard soldier type character who wears the big armour, and they have this power where they basically slam down the ground with their fist and kill people in the immediate area. So yeah, I mean, people are saying, comparing them with basically the Master Chief from Halo, because basically, yeah, that's what they are. But yeah, they're quite a cool class. I played the Warlock, so I didn't experience them or the Hunter. But yeah, they look like a good character to do, and they have a lot. They're basically like the big sort of juggernaut type character to play with. And then finally, of course, you've got the Warlock, which I played as in the beta, and they're kind of like a sort of magey type character. Their melee is kind of like a force push thing, kind of like a Siren in Borderlands. Have this sort of like energy feel they do when they sort of do like a force push almost. And also you can upgrade that so you can pull energy, so you can take away shields by doing a melee from quite a good distance. The melee range had an amazing distance on it. Mid-range you could kill people. It was quite good. And of course they have their ability called Voidwalker, which is basically they have a vortex grenade, basically a grenade you chuck out as like a little mini wormhole. Does damage to people inside it and can kill them as well. It takes down. It's really good in like the PvP stuff. So you chuck it into a room, people on the point, you just take down their shields. If you don't kill them, their shields are basically gone, and then they're 1 or 2 hits with most weapons, which is good. And there's different variants of that. There's a scattered grenade as well, and they have like a glide movement thing, which is quite cool. You can basically double jump mid-air, and you can sort of have like a jetpack thing. And then like the super ability, which is really good, is a Nova Bomb. It's just a massive fucking bomb of light which kills a lot of stuff. I mean, I think I got a 4-man kill with that the other day in the PvP stuff. Yeah, so that is a good class. That is probably the most coolest looking class, I think. They wear this big sort of badass cloak thing. Because to be honest, the Titan just looks like standard soldier. I mean, the Hunter looks quite cool, but I just think the Warlock just looks really interesting. This massive cloak and that. So yeah, not sure what class I'm going to play in the beta. I mean, I like the Warlock, but I feel like maybe I should try out the Hunter. I probably won't do the Titan. Well, the whole point of this is that you have multiple characters, obviously. So whether I'll just start again with a Warlock in the full game, and then maybe do the other two after a while. I'll have to think about what class to do. Also, I did check out the other two in the beta, and so I will look up a lot about the other classes and make a decision. I'm probably going to go with the Warlock in the full game. So that was the character creation stage. Next is that introduction. So we're going to talk about the introduction. So that introduction was perfect, really. It sets the scene, gives you a brief insight into the whole universe of the game. It basically kind of explains the whole setting with not too much detail, which at that point it doesn't need to do. I mean, the whole point is that you're playing the game, you're going to learn more about this world. I mean, it is a massive world in terms of the scale and the length of time they're going to be explaining this story. I think the game plan was 10 years or something like that. They're going to have this overarching story which is going to go over time, and there's going to be updates and stuff. So it is a really big story which they're planning, and so it is a big universe. I mean, literally, you can just go anywhere, in the solar system. I don't know about the galaxy yet, but yeah. So that introduction, you start on Mars. You've got those 3 astronauts, and they've come down on that ship, and of course they discover what is the Traveller, which is this sort of mystical sphere. As basically, from what I gather, for reading a bit extra as well, basically shows humanity the stars, allows humanity to spread out and have this what they call golden age, when humanity spread out and colonized and encountered other races and stuff, but also encountered this race called the Fallen and the Hive, which basically pushed them right back to Earth. So it's kind of ironic. You have all this power, you spread out really far, and in the end you get pushed right back to where you started. All the way back to one city, really. And it seems that the Hive are like these sort of zombie-like creatures that they basically let them have the moon in the hopes that they just stay on the moon, but obviously they aren't. They're starting to attack Earth. And so everyone, it's a bit of a mystery. And of course, the ghosts, yours of course, played by Peter Dinklage, who they have improved a lot with, actually. I mean, I saw the alpha footage, and there was a whole thing about his voice being a bit bland, which he's a robot. It's not supposed to be full of emotion, and they want it to be different. They don't want to have a too friendly robot. I mean, if you think like Cortana in Halo was kind of opposite of what you'd expect for an AI. She was really cocky and friendly and flirty in a way, whereas for this they want to kind of go against the norm and have a real not boring, that's not the word to use, real lack of emotion to make it believe it is an AI. It would not have emotion and is purely doing it methodical logic. It's doing what it needs to do. It's telling you where to go without any emotion, which is what an AI kind of needs to do. What they're designed for is to be better, because of that lack of emotion. If you have the emotion, then you could be affected by that in a situation where you need to get the job done. But obviously, the alpha footage that people saw, for people that played the alpha, people didn't really like that voice that much. They just didn't really like it. So they've improved it a bit. I think they've re-recorded some of his dialogue to give certain lines a little bit more emotional punch behind them. Not too much, again. You don't need too much for a robot AI. And they've put like a sort of electronic filter over his voice, now some beeps and boops and stuff. So I quite like it, and it's basically just having a little robot Tyrion following you around. So that's nice. He does what his purpose is. He's basically your waypoint. He's your sort of link back to the tower and your link to spawning in your vehicle to fly around. And he is basically progressing the story for you. He's telling you about stuff. He's introducing concepts that are completely new to the player about hive and stuff, where they're from. They were supposed to be on the moon and stuff like that. That, to be honest, unless you're doing cutscenes, isn't that easy to do. So it's nice to have a character explaining stuff to you. And then the whole thing about it is that you're a guardian, and they're special people that the traveller knows about that it can revive, and it's weird. So basically, Ghost revives you, and if you die, he can survive you again. So basically, you're immortal. There isn't much backstory into that. I think it's just a given that you're a special type of person that can be immortal and brought back to life, and there isn't much more explanation needed really for that. For the purpose, I like it when games do that. Have an explanation for why you respawn. Also, you don't need it in single player stories where you die in as a checkpoint, obviously, but for sort of RPG MMOs type things, when you're just brought back to life randomly and the world is persisting, especially in a game like this, when the whole big thing about this persistent world which is going to evolve over time, it's good when they have an explanation for why you are respawning. I mean, this is the ghosts can revive you. In other games, I think like Borderlands, they have the Hyperion things which respawn you. It's cool when they have an explanation like that. So yeah, the opening moments really sort of set the tone. You have like the big sort of nice scale outside open areas to show off the nice vistas and stuff they go into the game, which some of the vistas in this game are gorgeous. I mean, if you look at the tower, when you're in the tower and you're looking out over the city below, and all the buildings and the traveller in the background, and especially the daytime view is lovely, and the nighttime view is absolutely gorgeous. Some of the vistas in this game, which have always been good in Bungie games. If you think back to Halo, you know, the first time you arrived on Halo and saw that Halo ring going around above you, Bungie have always been really good at that. But at the same time, the introduction, so it's a scene that shows that cool vista. It also shows the sort of indoor, sort of dungeon-like environments you're going to be going through. Those dark, gritty environments with dark corners and enemies hiding around them and stuff. So it's not all big open. It is a lot of, you know, traditional dungeony type stuff, combined with the big, nice open areas where you got your big battles and you've got your public events with other players and stuff. These more dungeony areas are more suited for those small engagements with about 3 or 4 players in a little group going through, playing through them together. In the more sort of traditional co-op 4-person campaigns that Halo had, this has that, but at the same time it has that big open world stuff. So let's talk next about the whole MMO social aspect of it, which is quite a big thing. So at its heart, this is an FPS with RPG MMO elements. I mean, it is core as an FPS with what is going to be hopefully a really good story. But it has the RPG elements. You have your loot, you get, you know, your armor which you get over time. You have weapons, you have upgrades, you have your skill trees, you have all that stuff which is essential to an RPG. You have your stats, you have your weapon damage, you have things to multipliers and stuff. You have all that stuff which is, you know, the core of an RPG. And you have what is a rather light MMO experience, which doesn't need to be that in depth. I mean, they're primarily concentrating on consoles. I mean, they are doing a PC version, which I think they just announced the release date for, but it's not till like next year, February, March or something like that. They are focusing on this being a console game primarily, so they don't want to go into too much of a depth MMO thing. It needs, and for the type of game it is, an FPS, it doesn't need to be that in depth. It's just probably for me got just the right amount of stuff. It's got pretty simple emotes. You got your waving, you got your dancing, obviously. Your dancing, sitting down is quite nice, and you got your pointing. So you got really simple emotes, just nice ways of communicating with people. Of course, you can do game chat and stuff. Another feature which I didn't know about is apparently if you're in game chat in a fire team playing a mission, if you talk in game chat, your voice is actually translated to sound like Ghost is talking to them. I've yet to see this myself, but yeah, if that's quite a cool little feature. And then you've also got, you can go up to people, you can view their like stats and stuff like that. So you can view what weapons and stuff they're carrying, what their classes, stuff like that. It's quite cool. And you can invite them to your own fire team. Your fire team's kind of like a clan type thing. You can set up, you have your own name and stuff for it, and emblem and stuff. It's quite cool. Just general norm stuff you get these days with multiplayer games. And also, when you're in this sort of hub called the tower, you have, you've got people 90% of the time. Sometimes they just can't find people to matchmake you with, which is a bit weird, and you're just in an empty tower, which can be a little bit disappointing. That's probably just server issues, really. Most of the time, you'll go in and there's a lot of people, and it feels like a real, living world. You've got people at the, at the stores buying weapons, things like that. So you've got your weapons you can buy. You have like a sort of postmaster. You get messages from event. If you do an event, you get stuff unlocked, and you also have key characters you speak to do with the story as well. So it really is, the tower is like the essential place where everything happens, and of course you have loads of people there. So yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that later on in the story, in this persistent world thing they're doing, maybe something will happen with the tower. Maybe it'll get attacked and it will change. It'd be nice if things like happen like that. If you think games like Guild Wars 2 had Lion Arch that was attacked and devastated, and whole part of in-game now is to fix that, to fix Lion's Arch. So it's a nice thing to do that. So hopefully they go down that route of having big world events happen. And they are hinting that it's going to be a really big story with attacks and stuff. I mean, the special event they did for the last day of the beta, when they unlocked the moon mission, which was quite a nice moon mission to unlock. They unlocked a moon mission, which is quite nice, and that was like I did it solo. I think you can do it. Obviously, I wasn't match made with anyone, so I was on my own, and it was a little bit tough, but it wasn't difficult. And it's you're investigating this guardian who went up to the moon and disappeared, and you find his body, and he hasn't been revived, and his ghost is gone. And then you find this temple, basically it's taken for the hive, which is like this zombie-like creature, which there isn't much about. A bit of mystery behind them, and they've been sort of confined to the moon with the hopes that they'll stay on the moon, but they started appearing on Earth again. And in the very last mission of the beta, you find out they're basically planning to attack Earth. So that will be quite a nice storyline to follow, this big attack on Earth, and how the people of the tower and that defend against that. It's quite cool. And yeah, so next we're going to talk about the sort of just the gameplay elements of stealth, how like the missions work and stuff like that. So in the when you're going into missions, you have like your story missions which you follow through, which is pretty much going like your own experience. Obviously you can play with other people, but they're sort of unique to you. You're playing through your story, and there'll be other people in the world, and you can team up with your own friends and stuff to play through them. And then as you're progressing through that, you unlock more, obviously, and you're back and forth to the tower talking to people and stuff like that. So it's this whole sort of personal story you'll follow through. So for someone who doesn't want to do all the social stuff, they can play Destiny on their own. Obviously it's better with that whole social aspect and joining other players, but you can pretty much play through this game on your own. It can be more difficult at times, but you can. Same time, you have in the beta they had this exploration mission. Basically you went down to Earth into the area they had in the beta called Old Russia, and basically the whole area was there, a whole massive area. I mean, it was massive, and it had dungeons in it and stuff to go through, and basically that was where the story missions took place in different parts of that map. But in exploration mode you could have free roam to go wherever you wanted in that map, and you had little sort of quests to do. It was go and collect samples of this or observe these enemy types, just to give you something to do while you're there. But you can basically just go around grinding for XP, killing mobs, joining up with other players. It's just a cool little exploration mode where you get to do what you want really in an area of the game. And also there'll be different areas. I mean, there's going to be so many areas of the game. Yeah, that's just one area on Earth. I know there's other areas on Earth to go to. And then you've got the moon, obviously. You go to Mars, I think, Venus. So yeah, you've got the whole solar system, I think. Obviously not every planet in the solar system, but quite a lot of planets in the solar system you're going to be going to. And I wonder if maybe at some point you actually get to go to the Traveller. See what's inside the Traveller, I don't know. That'd be quite interesting. So then your story missions are you basically you're going, you're finding out stuff, Ghost is talking to you, explaining stuff. You have sort of, a lot of it is kind of discovering stuff to do with the past and stuff. So you basically go through areas, you're fighting enemies, you're fighting sort of boss type enemies at points, and then there's a bit of sort of story exposition, and then the mission ends. So it's a real sort of self-contained mission, and then at the same time you've got this exploration thing, and then you've also got sort of raid type events. And the one in the beta was called the Devil's Lair, and it was quite cool. Basically, I was match made with 4 people. 2 of them lagged out before we got in, which is a bit disappointing, so I was with one guy. But then there was other people in the game. I was just in a fire team with this other guy, and so we go through fighting through loads of enemies, and then you get to a bit where you hold off against 3 waves of enemies, which are quite tough. Almost died. It was a very big fight. And then once you've done that, you go through to fight in this big tank thing outside, which took about half an hour to 3/4 of an hour to kill because it was so much health. Obviously with 4 people it'd probably be easier, and you'd probably be a higher rank as well, so you'd have higher damage weapons, but still it took a very long time. And then finally you go through and into the actual Devil's Lair itself, and you fight the final boss, which is quite a cool fight. And the whole thing lasted about an hour, and I maxed out during it, but I probably got a lot of XP from that. You get some rewards from that. Basically they are just like raid type missions from normal MMOs, so that's quite a cool thing. And there's like 1 or 2 of them in each area. I think there's on the moon, although you can't play it, you can see there is one faded out, so they're probably in every area there'll be these raid missions to do. There'll be an exploration mission to do where you can go everywhere, and then there's the story missions dotted around. So it's quite a sort of nice way of spreading it out, giving you lots to do. So on top of all this story stuff, you've then got a pretty robust PvP system, which we're going to talk about next. So the PvP, like I said, is a really robust multiplayer game mode. It's basically, you know, it's Bungie at their best. I mean, Bungie made really good multiplayer with Halo, obviously. It's not, for me, I was thinking it was going to be like an extra side thing, like, oh, we'll just put some multiplayer in there. But no, it's a fully robust multiplayer system. You've got all your different game modes. I mean, the beta, the only one available was Control, which is basically domination. But assuming there'll be other game modes, probably like Capture the Flag, you know, normal team deathmatch, probably some free-for-all modes. I think there's some like 2v2 type modes. It basically is its own multiplayer game, separate from everything else. It's really decent. And the main mode in the beta was basically Control, obviously, and no matter what level you are, everything scales up or down, so it's fair for everyone. But also during the beta, on a couple of occasions, they had a special event running called the Iron Banner event. During the Iron Banner, they also unlocked 2 new maps. One was on another area of Earth, and one was on Mars. And then during the event, basically your level was your level. So if you're going against a level 1 and you're level 8, you're going to kill them. So your weapon stats and everything were compared to what other people's were. So basically it was worth playing that game mode if you were a high level, because you were going to do better than the lower levels. Doesn't mean you can't do good as a low level. The low level can still do good. The low level can still do the teamwork. The whole thing, there's a lot of teamwork if you're doing it well and you're using your abilities to keep people back. The low level people can still play, but it is more for the high level people, and it is recommended to be a high level when you play. It's nice to have that in there though, to have that opportunity. But the main modes are probably this sort of mode where everything's scaled up or down, to be fair, so you can still have a good time on multiplayer and have to worry about how decent your gear is. So yeah, talking about that, you have your own gear obviously, and it scales up damage up and down. So if you found a weapon in the main game that you looted, you use that. You literally on the fly open your character up, switch weapons you have. It's really good. It's basically just playing with exactly the same character online. There's no difference. There's no loadouts or anything like that. It's purely you have your main character and you can play with him online, him or her obviously. So yeah, that's a nice feature. And again, it's really good. There wasn't any issues I found with the lag or anything. I mean, I found that once the Xbox beta started on the 23rd, was it? Yeah, once the other players joined, there was a bit more strain on their servers, I think, because at the beginning of the beta when I was playing, it was just the PlayStation beta available on PS4 and PS3. I didn't have any problems at all, really smooth games, no real lag issues or hitbox issues at all. But afterwards there was quite a bit of lag. I mean, in some cases you'd literally shoot someone and they kill you, and then they die a good 10 seconds later, but from the first shot you'd fired. So, I mean, obviously it's a beta. The whole point of this is to test their strain on the servers, what their servers can handle. But yeah, so hopefully that will be addressed. I assume it will be. They're going to get more servers and stuff. They can handle it a lot more. And also, they were doing these Iron Banner events, and basically they would try to get as many people on as they can to test them. And a good example of testing the strain is last night when they did the final event, when they had the event when they unlocked the moon mission, and they put Iron Banner up for one more time, and they were trying to get as many of these players as they could at once to get this special reward. It went down for a while. I was having trouble logging in. Matchmaking wasn't happening. And people were complaining, which they shouldn't be. It's a beta. The whole point was to test the strain. So it's a bit annoying when people complain. People say, oh, there's not enough content in the beta and stuff. To me, there was just not enough content in the beta. I mean, I didn't do the other classes, but I had probably enough time during the beta to basically play each class to hell if I wanted to. I didn't really feel like it, but basically I was done with the Warlock after the first day or two. I could then move on to the Titan and the Hunter if I wanted to, and experience the races and stuff. So yeah, for the purpose of a beta of testing stuff out, it was an adequate length, and it was nice they added in another mission on the final day, which was quite cool. So yeah, now I'm just going to talk about my sort of general overall sort of excitements for the game come September. So obviously, Destiny's out in September, and I would say on playing the beta, I am really excited. For me, it's got everything I want out of the game at the moment. It's got a possible, if you want to, single player story you can play for on your own, with what looks to be a really cool story which is going to be evolving over time, and probably at the moment seemingly never ending. This story it's going to keep going, which is quite cool. There's so much content available, and Bungie have said it's the biggest game they've ever made. So, and how many years is it since Reach come out? So yeah, they've been spending quite a long time on this. So yeah, it's a really robust RPG. It's got the core mechanics of an RPG that need to be there to have that character progression and leveling up. It has solid FPS, shooting mechanics, really good shooting mechanics. I mean, the guns feel perfect. Although it's based on stats, unlike a game like Borderlands where you feel like you're just firing numbers at people, in this, the guns feel like guns. They have the right sounds, the right sort of weight behind them. The shooting mechanics are excellent, which for Bungie they always have been, and you're never going to expect them to be bad, really. Then you've got the really good RPG stuff. Then you've got a quite lightish, but not needing to be heavy MMO system. You've got the social aspects. You've got the you can team up with people. You can talk to people. You have like a hub where everyone can meet up and people sort of joke around. There was the football, which is quite cool. In the tower there was a football you could kick around. Never managed to, but apparently if you got on top of the fan it would go like miles up in the sky. General things like that, and obviously there's going to be more things like that in the final game. To have that whole feeling of a big living world with lots of players in it, which is what they're trying to go for. This big world where everyone's working together for these big story events that are going to happen to help stop them. When there's later on in the full game, when there's big invasions and people are going to have to work together to fight them off, and they have all the public events when you have up to about 10 people who were match made at the time fighting a big boss. Things like that is what makes me really excited. At the same time, you could have that quite easily in an MMO. At the same time, you have a really robust FPS sort of single player campaign feeling to it as well. So yeah, it's a really solid game which I'm really looking forward to. It is probably one of my most hyped games this year that I'm looking forward to, and there's not many coming out this year that I'm really excited for other than Dragon Age. That's about it, really. Yeah, so yeah, but 1, 2 or 3 games Evolve, quite looking forward to. But yeah, this is a game that I'm going to play for a long time, because there's going to be so much content available for it, and I'm really looking forward to playing this game. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the beta, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.